Elyse TV.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Raven, and today I'm here with a highly requested video. This is going to be my financial advice video, my overall money advice video on how to make and save money and my personal financial story. So I just want to start this video off with a disclaimer. I just have to put it out there that I am definitely not a financial expert at all. This is just to be taken as my experience and some tips that I can give you from my personal experience, but I'm not a financial expert. This is not to be taken as expert advice, and this is just kind of some food for thought and just some tips that I can personally give you. I also understand that a lot of things in this video may not apply to everyone. When it comes to finances, everyone is way different. Everyone has a totally different situation to begin with, so just keep that in mind as you watch this video. Of course, not everything is going to apply to everyone. So I wanted this video to be very informative and just kind of be an all-in-one video, so I'm going to cover 3 basic topics in this video. The first topic is my work and money history, kind of just telling you guys a background story on me personally and the places that I've worked and the ways that I've made money. The second topic is my current job and what I currently do to make money, which is being a full-time YouTuber, and kind of going into more details into what it means to have YouTube as a job. And the third topic is just some overall financial advice, some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way. So feel free to skip around in this video to get to the part that best relates to you. So first, let's just start off with my personal financial history, my work history. I kind of wanted to just give you guys a background on me because I feel like that kind of helps shape the rest of this video and shape the advice that I'm giving you. Like I said, I know that some things are just not going to apply to everyone, so knowing my personal story kind of helps you understand where I'm coming from. So basically, let's just start off from the beginning. Back when I was like probably 13 years old, I've always had like an entrepreneurial spirit. I've always wanted to own my own business. I've just always been interested in that type of thing. So I feel like I kind of started off at a young age because of that. I remember probably the first thing that I ever did to try and make my own money was back in like 7th or 8th grade. I was running a jewelry business out of my locker. I used to be really into jewelry making, wire making, all that stuff. So I would make my own jewelry. I would bring it to school in like a little pencil box, and I would sell it for like $1 or $2 to my classmates out of my locker in between classes. Now since then, I think they've made some rules and laws against selling stuff at school to other students, so you may want to be careful with that, but that's just kind of like my first memory of making my own money. Also, growing up, I grew up in an upper middle class family, so I never had to struggle with money. It was never really an issue for me. It's not like I was like this 13-year-old trying to go out here and make money for my family or anything like that. It's just that my parents definitely instilled a very good work ethic in me and definitely wanted me to start out young knowing the value of a dollar. So I know a lot of younger girls watch my channel. You might be in middle school or high school. You might be below the age of 16. And lots of regular jobs require you to be at least 16 or older. So for me, when I was younger, I found kind of different ways to make money without having to apply to a regular job. One of the very first things that I did when I was like probably 14, 15 years old is I actually worked for my mom. My mom was a professional personal chef, and so she had her own business cooking for clients, and she needed help in the kitchen washing dishes and chopping up vegetables and peeling potatoes and just random stuff like that. So she actually hired me as kind of like her little mini sous chef, and she paid me like a small amount per hour, and that was kind of my first job experience. So that was really awesome for me. I know not everybody's parents are in a position where they need to hire them for anything, but you might want to double check and look outside of your family and just kind of look at family members and friends of the family and see if anybody needs help with a business that they are running. It's a good way to get a job when you are technically underage. The other thing that I did before I was old enough to apply for real jobs was I was a babysitter. And yes, I do have a little sister, but it's not like my parents were going to pay me to watch her. I actually was a real babysitter in my neighborhood. My mom helped me make an ad in the newspaper or the local bulletin or whatever it was so that people could see that I was up for hire. And I think I charged like between $10 and $20 an hour or something like that, and I would babysit some kids in the neighborhood. I remember I babysit these twin boys who also had an older brother, and they were so bad. I actually hated babysitting so much. It definitely was not my calling, but I know some of you guys out there are probably really good with kids, and babysitting is a great first job. So basically, it's just important to remember that you can always start young. Even if you're not old enough to apply for real jobs or anything like that, there's always different little ways that you can make money if you are humble enough and if you are willing to take every opportunity. So once I finally turned 16 and I was finally able to actually apply to real jobs, this is when I transitioned into actually working retail. So my senior year of high school, I went to the mall and I basically just took one day out of the week where I was just going to go to every single store in the mall that I basically shopped at and ask them if they were hiring and ask them for an application, and then I just sat down and filled out all the applications to basically every single store in the mall. So I definitely suggest applying to stores that you actually shop at or that you are actually interested in, rather than just applying to random stores. Like for me, it would have made no sense for me to apply to some of the sports gear stores or the sneaker stores because I don't know anything about sports, I don't know anything about sneakers, and it would have been not my place to work at. But I applied to all of the girly fashionable stores. Now the thing about applying for like your first real job is that when you're filling out your application, they ask you for previous work experience, and if this is your first job, it's like, oh, I don't have any work experience, they're not gonna hire me. Well, there's two ways around that. What I did is I actually used my fake work experience, which is working for my mom, being a babysitter, and I actually put that down on the application anyway because it still shows that I have a good work ethic, and I think it's still worth putting on the application. Also, another big thing that I used for that was I put down my extracurricular activities from school. I was actually involved in different clubs and organizations in high school. I was the president of the environmental club, I was the vice president of whatever other club I was in, and that shows really good leadership skills, communication skills, work ethic, different things like that. So you can also use stuff from school, and it's also a good thing to keep in mind that it's important to get involved in school so that that can transfer over into jobs and making money. So I ended up getting hired at Wet Seal. I also ended up getting a job at BCBG, and I worked during my summer and winter breaks as I transitioned into college. My parents had agreed to pay a percentage of my college tuition and pay for my dorm room freshman year, but mostly everything outside of that was still up to me. So I definitely needed to be earning money and saving money to put towards everything that I needed for college and everything that I wanted to do during college. So that's why I would always work during the summer and any break that I had, so that it wouldn't stress me out while I was in school necessarily and taking classes, but that I could save up money to use while I was taking classes. Now, some of you may know that I actually had my YouTube channel this whole time. I actually started my first YouTube channel like freshman year of high school. So by the time that I got to college, I had already been doing the whole YouTube thing, but it was totally just a hobby. I wasn't looking at it as a job. I wasn't looking at it as a top priority, anything like that. It was just something that I loved to do and was fun to do on the side. But like I said, YouTube was definitely not my job like freshman, sophomore year in college. I worked retail freshman, sophomore year in college, and that's how I took care of myself. But the fact that I had my YouTube channel the whole time actually really ended up working out for me, because YouTube, especially during that time, was more of a slow process. It was more of a growing and learning experience, and it took years and years to really get on your feet as a YouTuber and do anything legitimate as a YouTuber. So it was good that I had my YouTube channel all the way since high school. So by the time that I was like a sophomore in college, things started actually picking up with my YouTube channel. Because by this point, I had already done like over 100 YouTube videos. I was already very experienced with it, but I had never earned a single dollar from a YouTube video. I didn't even know that you could make money from YouTube. But the fact that I had been doing it for so long anyway, it helped me because I was able to build up my experience, build up my knowledge, build up my skills, you know, increase the quality of my videos, and also just kind of build up my credibility as a YouTuber overall, so that if companies wanted to work with me and sponsor me and pay for me to do things, they actually could trust that I was a good YouTuber because they had all this history to look at. So I think it was my sophomore year in college when I actually first really started making any money from YouTube at all and started getting any sponsorships from different brands and stuff like that. And it started off as a very, very small amount, but it was something that I was really invested in and I invested my money into. So the money that I was making from working at Wet Seal, working at BCBG, working for my mom, doing these different little side hustles, that was the money that I used to invest into my YouTube channel because it was my passion. I would buy a new camera, I would buy a new light, whatever else I needed to do so that I could grow my channel, and then in return I was able to do better business on YouTube and make more money from YouTube. So I stayed consistent with it throughout college, and by the time that I was a senior in college and I was getting ready to graduate, I was actually already making enough money from YouTube that I could call it my full-time job, and I didn't need to really look for any extra job once I graduated. Okay, so I wanted to quickly break down what it means to be a full-time YouTuber, how do YouTubers make money in the first place, all that stuff. So basically the number one way that a YouTuber makes money in the first place is through advertisements through Google AdSense. So anytime you click on a video and you see a commercial that pops up, or you see an ad that pops up, or you might see an ad on the side or below it or whatever, that is the advertisement that they are paying the YouTuber to feature, basically. So basically you can think of it this way. Imagine if I had a company and I wanted to advertise it. So I wanted to put an ad in the newspaper or put an ad in a magazine or show a commercial on TV. Obviously, me as the business owner, I would have to pay for that. I would have to pay for that advertising space. So it's kind of the same way on YouTube. I mean, on YouTube, it gets very, very complicated. I'm not going to go into all the minute details of it, but just the basis of it is kind of that same idea that whoever wants to advertise on YouTube and show their commercials and show their ads, they have to pay for that advertising space. And whose space is it? Well, it's partially my space because it's my video that you're showing it on, so I should get a percentage of that. So that's basically how it works. And they pay you once a month. The second way that YouTubers make money is through sponsorships, through working with brands. So obviously you see a lot of beauty gurus, especially doing sponsored content. They might be showing some makeup or a hair product or a clothing item that was sponsored that they are being paid to talk about, being paid to share with you in their video. So I obviously do some videos like that as well. You guys know that I work with the wig company RPG Show. I worked with different clothing brands. I've worked with different makeup brands, and you guys know because you'll hear me say, oh, this video was sponsored, or they sent me this, or whatever, or you'll see a little disclaimer in my description box. Obviously the company is paying me to share their product with you guys so that they can sell more products and have better business. Now, obviously you want to try and be careful with this as a YouTuber. You don't just want to be doing a whole bunch of random sponsored content that you don't even believe in and you don't really even like this product, because that's just not genuine. So me, I only work with companies that I genuinely like, that I genuinely want to recommend to you guys. So then it's just kind of just a perk that they're paying me to talk about it. And this is another thing that greatly varies across the board. There's really no way to know how much money a certain YouTuber is making from sponsored content. Even for me personally, it varies across the board depending on who I'm working with and what type of video it is and all that stuff. Another way that a YouTuber can make money is if they are a more popular YouTuber, a convention or an event or something like that might pay them to come out to make an appearance. You can also do brand collabs. I know lately a lot of beauty gurus especially have been doing brand collabs with like makeup companies. Like for example, ColourPop Cosmetics has been doing collaborations with different YouTubers. So I'm not exactly sure how those like deals work, but I'm sure there's some type of contract between them where the makeup company is paying the YouTuber to be a part of this collaboration and create these products together. And another way that YouTubers make money, especially in the beauty community, is through affiliate links. This is basically if I say, look down below and there's a link that you can click to get 20% off if you use my link. If someone says use my link, that means that it's an affiliate link, and that means that anybody who clicks on that link and makes a purchase, I'm getting a percentage of that sale. So I might get 10% of whatever you just spent on that product. Me personally, I don't really do too many affiliate links. Most of the time, if I'm giving you guys a link to a product, it's probably just a regular old link, but affiliate links are a good way to supplement your income as a YouTuber. So yeah, since I graduated college and was able to become a full-time YouTuber, like I said, those are basically all the ways that I currently make my money. Now, let's just talk about some overall money advice that can kind of better apply to everyone, even if you don't want to be a YouTuber or anything like that. So I think some of the main things that helped me get to the position that I am in today is the fact that I actually started young. I didn't wait until I was 16 or until I was 18 or however old to start earning my own money. I always wanted to earn my own money from a young age, and my parents instilled that in me, and I found different little ways around the system to do that. So like I said, for my younger viewers out there who might even still be in middle school or high school, I definitely recommend that you start taking it seriously now. Also, another thing that I think really helped me is having multiple sources of income at once. There's never really been a time that I was just relying on one job, one way to make money at a time. I think it's great to have multiple hustles, as I like to say. Even if something is kind of small that you're doing and you don't make that much money from it, at least it's good to have that going on as a backup plan to supplement the main job that you have. And really the only way that you can do that and have multiple hustles, multiple jobs at the same time is to really just be humble and take every opportunity. You can't really be too picky about certain jobs, like, oh, I don't really want to do babysitting, oh, I don't really want to do dishes, I don't really want to be this or that. Of course, you have to use your best judgment and you don't want to do anything that is just crazy, but you kind of have to be humble about it and take the opportunities that are given to you. Also, with me, when I was younger especially, I was really into saving money, getting a bargain, shopping on sale, going to the clearance section, and I was really into thrifting actually. Especially in college, I would basically get all of my clothes from the thrift store just to save money, because I didn't want to blow all of my money on designer labels and name brands and stuff like that. I would rather save up my money and be able to buy a new camera, which was actually going to help me with my YouTube channel, which was actually going to end up making me more money at the end of the day. So it's all about saving your money in certain places so that you can use your money better in other places. Other good tips to keep in mind is that savings are really, really important. And I know we all know that, and it seems like such a common sense thing to say, but it's always really important to have some money put aside in a savings account or something like that, just because you never know what could happen. An emergency could pop up, an unexpected expense could pop up, if your car breaks down, you know, anything could happen, and it's really nice to have that extra money put aside for stuff like that. Not only that, but it's nice to be able to actually save up money, like I said, for big purchases. For example, if you're getting into YouTube or something like that and you wanted to buy a new camera, that was mainly the type of thing that I was saving up for, is like cameras and lightings and stuff like that. But depending on what field you're in and what hobbies you have, there's always seems to be some big purchase that you need to buy. So being able to put some money aside every now and then to actually be able to get those things when you want it is really awesome. So how do you save money? How do I become better at savings? How do I boost up my savings account? Well, one of the main things that you have to keep in mind is that you have to live within your honest means. Actually live in a way that you can actually afford. And once again, I know that sounds like common sense, but I know a lot of young people, especially when you're like in college and stuff, you don't really keep that in mind. College students, at least in my experience, they tend to calculate everything down to the last dollar instead of leaving themselves any wiggle room or any savings room. So a really good way to help with your spending and know how much you should be spending in each area is the 50-20-30 rule. And this is a rule that I personally use. You kind of can tweak it to your own personal lifestyle, but it's kind of just a base budgeting rule that you can use. So it's broken down into 50% for fixed expenses, 20% for savings and debt, and 30% for flexible expenses. And this is on a month-to-month basis based on your total monthly earnings earnings from whatever job that you have. So let's just use a really easy number as an example. Let's just say that your total monthly earnings, you earn $1,000 per month. So if you take that $1,000 and use the 50-20-30 rule, let's start with 50. So 50% of 1,000 is what? 500. So you have $500 to work with for your fixed expenses. And in this rule, fixed expenses count as anything that you know for sure that you are going to have to pay every single month, no matter what. So that's stuff like your rent, your car note, your car insurance, your cell phone bill, your internet bill, any of those bills that you know you're gonna get every single month that you have to pay every single month. So like I said, in this little fake scenario, if we're working with $1,000 overall, 50% is 500. So when you're apartment shopping and when you're buying your car and things like that, you should be keeping that in mind. I only have $500 to use towards this type of stuff. I have to fit my rent, my car note, my cell phone bill. I have to fit all these bills into this $500 section. Now, obviously in real life, $500 is really not, enough money or whatever, but that's just the example that I'm using just to make it easier. The thing is, usually people don't use the 50% rule for their fixed expenses. A lot of people probably use like 70% or 80% of their monthly income for their fixed expenses, when they would be much better off if they planned it for only 50%. The 20% is for savings and debt. So the next 20% chunk of your monthly earnings, so $200, is supposed to be for your savings and debt. So if you have any credit card debt, any student loans, anything like that, you should first put it towards that and start paying that off. And then anything that you can have left over, you put into a savings account. And then the last section, the 30%, so the last $300 of your monthly earnings, is for flexible spending. And this includes things like food, which you're probably wondering, why is food not in the first section? Because I have to buy food every month. Well, food counts as a flexible spending section because you don't always spend the same amount of money on food every single month. You know what your rent is going to be. That's a fixed expense. You know what your car note is going to be. But you don't know down to the dollar exactly how much money you're going to spend on food because, we go out to eat or we go to different things, just different things happen throughout the month when it comes to like eating. So it's a flexible thing that you can kind of cut back on, because you can cut back on going out to eat. You can shop smarter when you have your groceries and stuff like that. So food goes in this 30% section. And anything else that varies from day to day also goes in this 30% section. For me, these things would be like, getting my nails done or going to the movies or going out to eat or buying clothes or buying a new piece of camera equipment or something like that that I don't do every single month, or I don't spend the same amount of money every single month, but here and there I definitely spend money. So that's the 50-20-30 rule. 50% on fixed expenses, 20% of your earnings on savings and debt, and 30% of your earnings on flexible spending. And this is kind of just the ideal budget. So obviously you have to tweak it to fit your lifestyle. Having said that, if you're going by that rule, only 80% of your overall monthly earnings should be going towards your monthly expenses. You should still have 20% of your monthly earnings left over to go towards savings and debt. And if you follow this rule, you will be able to obviously save more money because you will be planning it every single month. And like I said, the way to actually achieve this and actually put this rule into play is all about planning. So when you're apartment hunting, when you're car shopping, when you're grocery shopping, when you're planning all these things out, you should be keeping this in mind and knowing this already. So don't get an apartment that goes outside of that 50% range. Don't get a car that is more expensive than what can fit into that 50% chunk. Don't go grocery shopping and get every single most expensive thing from Whole Foods if that doesn't fit into your 30% chunk. We're all gonna have a totally different monthly income and totally different lifestyle and things that we need to spend money on. So this is kind of hard for me to just give general advice to everybody on, but you kind of have to just take what I'm saying and apply it to your own situation the best that you can. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go without or, not be able to treat yourself or not be able to get what you want or that you have to starve yourself or anything crazy like that. It's just about making smarter spending decisions based on this 50-20-30 rule. You may not need to get the car that has all the souped up GPS, There's probably still a very nice car that you can get that is within your means. Just don't tip over that edge, if that makes sense. And it's very easy to tip over that edge if you're not paying attention and if you don't have everything written down and planned out ahead of time. It's very easy to get a slightly more expensive apartment just because you're like, oh, it's okay, I think I can do it. I think I'll be able to afford it every month. But if you really sit down and break it down with this 50-20-30 rule, you might not actually be able to make it work. And also remember, if you're doing this and you're planning it out and you're kind of saying, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to get that car that I wanted, I'm going to have to get this car instead, you know, don't get down on yourself about it. Remember that you can always upgrade as you go. As you start making more money in the future, as you start saving more money in the future because of this rule, then you will have more money to be able to upgrade as you go, to move into a bigger apartment that you wanted or get the nicer car that you wanted. You're not going to be stuck with these decisions for the rest of your life. It's just something that is going to help you save more money in the meantime. It's all about just spending money on what you actually need and what you actually can afford, like I said, based on this 50-20-30 rule. And that allows you to actually have some wiggle room in your budget to save money every month, because you're not going to be spending your money down to your very last dollar every single month. For example, I know we all had that one friend in college who was living in, a nice apartment. They had this nice car. They always had the newest shoes or the newest iPhone. But on a day-to-day basis, you would ask them to go out to lunch or something like that, and they would be, oh no, I just paid my bills. I only have $1 in my account. And it's like, you shouldn't only have $1 left in your account after you pay your bills. You should still have some wiggle room in your account and some money left over after all your bills are paid for. If that is the case for you and you are down to $1 after you paid all your bills, you may reconsider some of the things that you're paying for. Is my apartment too expensive, too big, too nice? Is my car too expensive, too nice, whatever? Those are the things that you have to think about, especially from a young age. Now, I understand that not everybody cares about this stuff. Not everybody wants to save money. Not everybody wants to start a savings account. Some people just want to live in the moment and get what they can get and spend it down to their last dollar. And that's you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to make this a preachy type video. It's just, if you are one of those people who does want to be better about this type of thing and does want some help with how to boost up your savings account, this is how you would do it. And yes, this is how I personally handle my money. I always make sure that no matter what, even if my earnings are increasing, that I'm always living below my means. I'm always paying really, really close attention to what I can actually afford, while also giving myself that wiggle room that we're talking about, that 20% wiggle room, to make sure that I'm always putting money back into my savings every single month and not just blowing that money every single month. And like I said, these percentages are kind of just a guideline. You can adjust it to your personal situation. So if you're just starting out, you can take it down to like 5% or 10% put aside for savings. You don't have to do the whole 20%. So yeah, that's my main advice on how to save money, is just to follow the 50-20-30 budgeting rule with your bills and your spending overall each month. And if you want to get some more information on it, it's a very common budgeting thing out there, so you can easily Google it and you'll find a lot more information on it. Couple of little extra pieces of advice, just some personal things that I use, is one, having multiple accounts. I personally have a personal checking account, a business checking account, a personal savings account, and I also have 2 PayPal accounts, and I think that's it. So that's a total of 5 different places that my money could be hiding in. And I say hiding because sometimes it's good to kind of hide your money from yourself. That way it's not all just sitting in one account staring at you, and when you go to the mall and you check your account, you're like, I have all this money, and it's really tempting to spend more money when you see all your money in one place like that and this big number. So kind of splitting it up into different accounts, and definitely at least having a savings account definitely helps. And in terms of tips on how to actually make more money in the first place, a couple of things that I personally do is I always try to have some type of side hustle. Like I said, something, I have my main job, my main way of making money, but I want to have something on the side that I can make a little bit of extra money here and there if I want to. So we all have our own talents. We all have something that we're good at. And usually you can turn your talent into a business per se. And it doesn't have to be a big, crazy, time-consuming business with the professional professional website and business cards and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be all that. It can just be something simple that you do for friends and family on the weekends. For example, if you're good at doing hair, you can do friends and family members' hair and people around your neighborhood, people around your area. You can do their hair on the weekends for kind of a cheap price and make some extra money that way. Or if you're good at doing makeup, you can do that. You can like do makeup during prom season for all the other girls in your high school or whatever it is. If you're good at baking, you can bake cupcakes and sell them on the side. Anything like that that you're good at that you can turn into a service or a product is always a good thing to keep on the side to just make extra money in your free time. And another way to make some extra money on the side is to sell your old stuff. Especially us girls, we like to buy new clothes and new shoes and stuff like that all the time. So you know you're not gonna wear all those clothes and shoes, so you might as well sell them and make some money off of it. There are so many different apps now that you can sell stuff on. You don't have to just use eBay anymore. You can use Poshmark and Depop and all these different little apps that are popping up that make it really easy to just snap a pic of your item and sell it. And you would be surprised what people are willing to buy. So that's also another really easy, quick way to make some money on the side. Also, a couple little random things that I wanted to throw in this video because I got asked about them is number one, taxes. Yes, as a full-time YouTuber, as a YouTuber in general, yes, you do have to pay taxes. I, for one, pay quarterly taxes. So yeah, there's that. Also, I am not with a network. Some YouTubers are signed with a network, which is kind of like a management company type thing. And that can also sometimes increase how much you make or decrease how much you make, because as a network, anything that's like a management is going to take percentage of your earnings, obviously. Just like a manager would take like 15-20% of your earnings, a network takes a percentage of your earnings usually too. I'm personally not with a network, so I don't really have a lot of experience with signing with networks and how that works in terms of making your money on YouTube, so I can't really speak on that too much. And there was some other questions that came up in terms of credit, building your credit and having good credit and stuff like that, and also in terms of investments. Those are two subjects that I just don't have enough knowledge on to include in this video. Those are two subjects that I'm kind of just now getting into myself, so that's something for a future video, I guess. But if you take anything from this video, just remember that it's good to start young, be humble, take every opportunity that you can get, have multiple sources of income with side hustles, live within your means using the 50-30-20 rule, and just, you know, keep your future in mind. Your future is important. You don't want to set yourself up for failure from a young age by having reckless spending habits. You know, sometimes we use the excuse like, oh, I'm still young, blah, 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 it doesn't matter, I'll figure it out when I'm older. But sometimes you can really ruin things for your older self by being too reckless when you're young. So just keep that in mind. I want you guys all to be, you know, girl bosses, be able to support yourself, be independent, have good credit, all that stuff. It's important, and I want that for you guys as well. So if there's any advice I can ever give, I'm always going to be willing to give it. But yeah, this video was just based, like I said, on my own personal experience. So hopefully you were able to at least get something out of it and maybe learn a new thing or two. If you have any extra questions, feel free to leave them down below. But other than that, I think that's it. So I will see you guys in my next video, which will be how to start a YouTube channel and going more into detail on being a YouTuber. So definitely look out for that. But I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.